I'd like to thank the FCC for providing us a parking space. Which means I can't say fuck right here.
Oh shit. You can't say fuck?
I can't say fuck.
But you said
So
fuck.
we're gonna get censored. So we started off the trip going to this Amish village, and it was interesting. As you can see, Christy is with me, and so is Aaron and Eric's. They were nice enough to invite me along on this trip, and so we went exploring to this place in the middle of fucking nowhere, Pennsylvania. I mean, it's literally, I don't know. It's not middle of nowhere. It's close to some small Pennsylvania towns, but you know, I was expecting some serious Amish shit, but what I got instead was, of course, a commercialized, I don't know. We learned a little bit, so it wasn't a complete loss, but I was definitely wholly unsatisfied with this Amish village experience. I was hoping for something a bit more authentic and a bit less touristy, but I guess that's how you gotta make money when you're Amish and shit. So we're gonna do the tour first, or?
Yeah, because it's starting in 10 minutes, so then we'll do the tour and then just do it for your mom. Come on, get up right up there next to him. Come on, Aaron. I'm serious.
I don't think it's fair.
You will sit up there. Eric, sit up there. You can sit up there. Get up in there. Amish people sit up in there. There's plenty of room for you. Aaron,
So is it offensive that he's sitting in there wearing red?
Aaron, I'm bringing you on this trip. Get up in there. How's that for logic? Paying for it, you get up in there. It's alright, I just want a picture, dang it. I want a picture. You filming me now?
Yes.
Telling my kid, get up there because I'm paying for the trip. Alright, what's going on? Is there anything in the back seat?
That's where they keep the fentanyl.
I'm trying to eat.
I'm trying to get his red ass head.
He's like, fuck you.
Look, I got him.
Ha!
Nice.
Show me that red head. Now that's a head.
This is where you want your camera out. Your selfie. Alright, your selfie time.
Look how the top of his thing's going up.
Wait, you forgot to get the chicken. You forgot to get
Turn around, Scott, real quick.
Show the chicken.
I will keep it in here.
I would. You forgot to
Did you just do the... What?
My thumb photobomb.
Are you coming over to tell me to go away?
It's a chicken. You okay, buddy?
Do you see how the chickens have a gyroscope in their head where they can move without their head moving? Pretty cool.
Are you gonna bite me? Is this where we get the animal attacks video?
Animal attack in part 3.
Oh!
It is.
He is biting
I don't
me.
think he likes it. I think when they do that, that means that they're like,
That
get away
means
from
fuck
me.
off.
He's gonna chase you in a minute.
I'm going away now.
Run, boy,
Yeah.
run.
Are you getting his, he's shaking his tail feathers. Isn't there a song about that? Shaking his tail feathers or something?
I didn't know the chickens had tongues.
Why is he obsessed with me? There's other people here.
You were the one that got close to him.
All I did was film him.
He didn't like it.
I think I captured his soul.
Look at this dude's red head. His head looks like bacon skin.
Bacon skin.
He's turning to the devil.
No, he's turning into a piece of chicken fried bacon.
They have to move it manually.
Animal attack.
Animal attack.
Oh yeah, I took 2.
I gave a thumbs
All right.
down. I would.
This is a little. All right. Tell myself get out. You're just waiting for me to fall, aren't you?
Yes, I got it in slow-mo so that when it happens.
Oh. What are you doing? All right, look. Can you here? This is look. I told this.
I'm a video artist.
I told this kid to get a picture of me.
And he was taking
I've done that
selfies.
trick too.
See,
Now that's
Like you hold it up,
great.
they all pose, and you hand it back to them, and there's a big picture of you. I've done that a couple times.
Man, that's it. You're the worst picture taker ever. You know that? What are those things? Suckers?
No, they're cannons.
Yeah, it's for the Amish wars.
They're pacifists. Did you not learn nothing on the tour?
No. So, basically, what I learned from this place is, well, first of all, they're allowed to use propane and solar panels. They're just not allowed to be wired into the grid with electricity and phone service. So, I don't know. It seems like they're modernizing a lot more now than I previously thought. I didn't know much about the Amish. I just see them going down the road every once in a while in their little buggies, and then I'm like, okay, yeah, it's a minimalist life. And they are very minimalist in nature. They keep things that are out of necessity. They don't have a lot of stuff. They work hard, obviously, because they're not using a lot of modern farming techniques. But, overall, I respect their, the fact that they're minimalist and they choose to not participate in a lot of modern things. So it was a bit of a learning experience to go through this village. I don't know if it was worth the extra mileage of travel to find it, but if you happen to be in the neighborhood, it could be an okay stop. It wasn't mind-blowing in terms of that. In fact, I don't even think there was any legit Amish people in the Amish village. Like, I think I saw maybe one. I don't think they want anything to do with this tourist trap, but I imagine it brings them some revenue or something. But there was some other things I did notice that were disturbing about this particular Amish village, and it triggered me just a little bit. Glyphosate free.
What is glyphosate?
It's a weed killer that is in just about all the food you eat.
The OG pizza hut.
This is where they torture the wicked.
Oh, look, you guys, this is a grinder.
Eric, put your arm in the ground.
No, that's not. I wonder what that was for. Grain cleaner. Grain chip. Sweet sausage.
I don't get it. They got solar panels and propane, but yet they work so hard to make metal shit.
Hey, that's a spoke
Plus,
maker, you
why-
guys.
why-
I didn't know that they had a specific machine for making spokes. Who would have thunk it?
Plus, can't they just go to Costco?
Right?
Let's go to Costco.
Pay somebody to drive them?
Yeah, they take an Uber now too. And of course, Christy found the snacks. So the Amish have no rules on what they can and cannot eat, and I think they are pretty much just as fucked as we are in terms of nutrition. Their store in here was anything but authentic. It was, were obviously some Amish brand processed packaged foods in here, but there was a whole lot of completely horrible shit that you would find in a gas station. Now, I realize they're trying to make money here and everything, but I was expecting some like natural foods or some things that some Amish people created out of fucking, good old farming and fruit and vegetables or something of that nature. I did not expect as much soda and candy and fucking bullshit that we saw here. So after we left, I decided to have a cheat meal because I saw the Waffle House, and I do regret it because I think I broke out in hives as a result of it, but I had hash browns. Everything else in that bowl was keto, and of course coffee without any sugar or shit in it. Then we decided to stop off at Gettysburg. Now, you can watch my previous Gettysburg video for some of the, touristy shit, but I mainly focused on photography during Gettysburg, and I just wanted to get some pictures that I missed out on, because I can't do both at the same time because then I don't feel like I get enough coverage either way. And although when I get to DC later, I do both video and photography, overall, I try and since I already did the video tour of Gettysburg, I try to focus on taking pictures. Now, another thing I'm learning on this trip is kids do not have the stamina of adults when it comes to this stuff, and they were getting pretty miserable pretty quickly with even just driving around and stopping at places. They seem to get bored easily, and they seem to be a little bit obsessed with their phones more so than with actually experiencing the trip, which is, kind of sad. And, I hope one day they wake up that there's more to life than staring at your phone. But in any case, here's, these are just some of the pictures that I took when we stopped in the Gettysburg battlefield. And then we headed on down to Washington, D.C. for the main objective of our little adventure. Department of Agriculture is right here. This is where Monsanto lives. They pretty much live here so that they can get all their glyphosate piss put in our food system.
I mean, if it's in the middle of a city, as far as being the Department of Agriculture.
So it's the Department of Monsanto.
Right.
That's what it is. It's the Department of Monsanto.
I was gonna say, look around.
No, it's the Department of
Agriculture.
Glyphosate.
Yeah. So if you're going to Washington, D.C., you're going to need at least a week if you plan on doing everything. We tried to cram as much Washington, D.C. into one day as humanly possible. And I can tell you, we probably covered like a tenth of what is available to do in Washington, D.C. First thing we did was head off to this Smithsonian Castle, which has the Visitor Information Center, so we can find out what kind of shit we can do in Washington, D.C.
I know, there was room right now to get up there.
Everybody hear Christy bitching right now?
I'm bitching.
Just bitching.
Just want to find out.
So the first place we headed was the Smithsonian Museum of American History, which basically is supposed to cover the entirety of American history. And yeah, it looks pretty pissed off.
I would be too.
It's
It
like
looks like he's about to smite someone.
it's like I'm tired of these tourists. Go home. So, the first part of the Museum of American History, I kind of wasn't too impressed with. There were definitely some political themes, but it's Washington, D.C. You can't expect to tour Washington, D.C. without politics making themselves known, but we'll get more into that a little later. But, it was interesting. We kind of were, because of there's so much to do, we were always felt this overwhelming pressure to kind of just blow through these things instead of stopping to read each exhibit to see. I mean, you could literally spend a whole day if you were to take your time, read all of the stuff, learn about the items that are on display, which we didn't really have time to do, so we had to kind of pick and choose what we decided to learn or read about, which is the whole reason to go to a museum, is to fucking learn something, I mean, otherwise you're just going around, oh, look at that, it's a statue, yay, instead of reading to find out what's the significance of it, or, where did it come from, who's it a statue of, these kinds of things. These are things you should do when you're in a fucking museum.
That's kind of a cool little bow and arrow.
That's a cool little rifle.
It's like my size.
Many people chose to resist assimilation efforts and to maintain their religion, culture, and language by sending their children to private schools.
I had so many of these books because my mom used to collect them when we were kids. Like the Dick and Jane ones and the...
Do you still have them?
So I guess they tried to preserve their culture in schools. That ended, though.
They removed them after World War, after the Civil War, then you have the industrial period, and the final period was World War II. So the only thing is in the house in those from that.
So this is an actual house, the Dodge House from Revolutionary times, and they put it back in here. They moved it in here. So this is the actual house. I think the outside's new, but the inside skeleton is from the original structure.
To see that, I love that solid wood panel.
Pretty cool, guys.
I'm guessing they didn't have colonial laundromat back in the day. So I thought this was kind of interesting. Up ahead here you see that there's a bunch of little itty-bitty screens going through various historic, pictures, and it was just, I thought it was pretty artistic to do that, so I was admiring that. I should. But I did notice that as we delved deeper into the exhibit, it definitely took a turn for the more political. Uh-oh. This museum's racist. It's got a MAGA hat. It's racist.
If I say fuck Trump, I mean well, if I say fuck
Well,
Trump,
it's a free country. You're supposed to be able to express your opinion freely.
But we did park in the FCC parking garage. So
Yes.
does that
I
disqualify me
love
from
how they
saying
got an
fuck Trump?
Obama doll next to.
Well,
Yeah.
at least that's over in the corner of Christian.
Yeah, I better stop filming this or we'll get political. I think we just got demonetized and deranked. I filmed the MAGA hat. It's bad.
See the little yellow symbol, right?
But at least
I will say that we only saw like maybe 2 protesters the entire trip, which was surprising. I was expecting that there would be a lot more based on all the media bullshit that's out there. But turns out this little display of protest signs and a few other people out on the street were about all we saw in terms of this unrest and division that's being pushed on us by the media.
You show this. Do you remember that owl, Scott?
What's that?
Do you remember this owl from the American?
No. Oh, wait, yeah.
Actually, you know, I think that owl looks familiar.
So now we got to a part of the museum that I kind of was looking forward to, and that's military history. You know, the main reason I wanted to see DC is, you know, for things like the wall and, you know, all the memorials and Arlington and the changing of the guard. And, you know, these are all things that I'm interested in, you know, as a former military member. You know, I've had a fascination with history in general. Particularly the Civil War lately, but, you know, the Revolutionary War is something that we should learn about just as much as the Civil War. And to be honest, there was only like 80 years difference between the two, if you think about it, in which not a lot of technological developments during that time. But then we came so much further after that, and now we got the fucking internet and phones up our asses all the time. Also, it should be noted that my fucking camera mic is glitching on me, and I might have to buy a new camera mic. I'm learning now. So, I might have missed some shit, sound-wise. So here are 2 actual pieces of the towers that fell on September 11th, 2001 from the World Trade Center. And I'd heard that these were here, so it was interesting to actually see them. The kids wanted to leave this museum and go to Air and Space, but I kind of like pushed for us to finish this museum, and we found all of the military history stuff I was looking for in pretty much one section. It went through our entire military history from the Revolutionary War all the way up to Afghanistan, you know, I mean, and to current times. So these are things that you probably don't want to miss. It's kind of out of the way to find this section of the American History Museum. It didn't just jump out at us right away. This is kind of a nice little section of that is worth the visit to this particular museum.
This may involve serious commitments by us all.
So we continued on into the World War I, World War II section. We had to circle around. It turns out we went in the wrong way. We're supposed to go in a certain order, and we didn't, and ended up back at the Civil War stuff eventually. But I really enjoyed the World War I, World War II section of this. There's a lot of great photographs from history, lots of artifacts from the time. It's, you know, we need to remember all of this stuff. That, you know, all the wars we fought, all the people that died for us to get where we're at today. And we need to not repeat the mistakes of the past, and I believe educating ourselves on the past is one way to prevent us from doing the same stupid shit again. So many people have fought and died for our country, and we need to honor them by not forgetting and constantly reminding ourselves of the past. And, you know, and whatever your politics are, know that someone sacrificed themselves so that we could live this freedom, and I put that in quotes right now, that we have today. And that freedom's being eroded slowly but surely. And I am a patriot in that I don't want to lose any more of those freedoms that we fought so hard and for so long to get. And that so many people had to sacrifice so much of themselves to provide that freedom for us. So, just take some time out of your life and turn off Facebook and go and just be in some of these places, or go to some of these places and remember, and perhaps even learn some things that you didn't already know, which I definitely did. The microphone failed again, but I don't think this clip needs sound, do you? I think it's pretty self-explanatory. So now we're on our way to the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum. And we'll do a quick once around the Capitol building there. Then we'll make our way the other way, so we want to hit the Vietnam War Memorial.
We're walking pretty much side by side. These two are on their phones, so I'm like, off your phones. Next thing you know, this one's giggling. They're walking side by side, texting each other. I think we should look to see what's on their phones.
Yeah.
It's making them laugh so much. Let me see what
Absolutely, yeah.
Come on, bring it on over. What do we got?
What'd they say?
Here, this is what Aaron sent to Eric's as they're walking side by side.
I once recorded my diarrhea furiously gushing out of my ass, colliding against the porcelain of the toilet. Nice.
I mean, apparently that's super funny. Look at them. Hey guys, look, purple-headed dog.
Alright. That's going on YouTube, by the way. There's also a whole lot of gardens and arboretums, or whatever you call them, and just a whole lot of nature. We didn't even get to go into the Museum of Natural History, which I'll have to get next time I do a DC trip. But there will be more DC trips in my future to make up for all the shit that we didn't get to see because we just didn't have time to do it all. And in some cases, energy to do it all. Or sometimes we injured ourselves because we walked 10 miles. What?
Pull out that camera one more time and you're behind. Fast. Be faster.
No, I'm not gonna be faster.
You are super slow.
I can't be faster.
Ah. Then get some heelys.
Are you in a hurry?
Yeah.
Why?
It's hot. I don't
Yes,
like
it is hot.
I don't like being hot.
Well, you are wearing a sweatshirt
I'm not gonna take off.
in the 80-degree weather, which would be
It would be cold.
90% of the reason why you're really hot right now.
It would be too cold if I took off the sweatshirt.
Yeah.
My arms would
But
freeze.
I'll heed your complaints of being hot
Yeah.
when you're not wearing a hoodie that's insulated for winter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is winter.
So the Air and Space Museum, it's probably one of the most popular museums in Washington, D.C., at least in the National Mall area. and it was definitely the most crowded, which, you know, I'm kind of averse to large crowds of tourists, so it's a little outside of my comfort zone, but I expected it going to Washington, D.C. But, you know, there's all kinds of aircraft and spacecraft and modules and everything you can imagine, you know, about the history of space. There's also a lot of things that cost money in here. So while getting into the museum is free, there's lots of like VR experiences and movie experiences and stuff like that that'll chew up your wallet if you let it. The observatory was closed, though, that I wanted to see.
Very tall. It's a chair, you guys. That's weird.
Yeah.
Why does it rotate?
They can look away from people.
No, just a certain
exercising in space.
Yeah.
That's how they move it.
Yo, what? Yeah, okay.
Could you imagine living in there, guys? Yeah. It kind of reminds me of inside of a submarine a little bit.
Why do they have Interstellar?
Oh, look at that. Shower.
Notice he had a Nikon bungee corded down to the table.
Also in here, there is the actual first plane flown by the Wright brothers. This is the actual plane inside this museum. So it's kind of, you know, you'll find little gems like this in each of these museums that are very, very famous parts of history, and you get to be there and actually see them for yourself and, you know, read and learn about them at the same time. So this is definitely a good museum to stop in. Overall, I did enjoy this museum. But from a budget-minded perspective, it's not that fucking budget minded. You're going to spend a decent amount of money if you want to fully experience this and all that it has to offer. But there's still plenty of free exhibits for you to explore and read and learn, which is still, that's the point of the museum, is to try and learn some new shit and actually see pieces of history and you know, touch, well, not always touch. I'm pretty sure if I would have touched the plane, somebody would have tackled me and threw me outside. So next door to Air and Space was the Museum of American Indian History. We didn't get a chance to go in because we were trying to get over to the Capitol building next, and that was pretty much it for our museum experiences for the day. We didn't have time. You know, museums close at 5 or 6, 5:30 I think it was, and we just didn't get to experience, and I regret that. So I'm definitely gonna do a future DC trip just to fully explore everything, and it might even take more than one trip because that's literally how much stuff there is.
Bullshit.
Probably the Air and Space Museum.
What particular thing in the Air and Space Museum?
All the rockets and IBC. No! They're Continental. ICBMs.
All right, but did you learn something new?
Yeah.
What?
Things are overpriced.
Yes!
Oh, I gotta. So the reason he said that is, you know me, I'm a minimalist. So he went in, what was it, 40?
40, yeah, he spent $40 in there.
He went in, he came out with 2 Lego models and a keychain.
Small ones. I think there's like maybe 10
Yes,
Lego
they're
blocks
like
in
the
there.
size of my hand.
This one did. He bought something he needed.
So I
Sunglasses.
spent the next hour lecturing him on opportunity cost, which means we walked by a VR experience that he could have participated in for like $9.
547 pieces. I guess
Yes.
they're in there, but they're tiny. They gotta be
Yes.
like tiny. If there's 547 pieces in this,
266 for this one.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
like,
he has buyer's remorse now
no, I don't.
because he has
I don't-
$5 left.
I don't regret it.
You don't regret?
no rigor.
No regret.
No regrets.
No regret.
That's totally why he said that everything is
I
overpriced.
spent $3 today. $3.
I spent $0.
Do you want to know why? Because failure is not an option. And it's a
Yeah.
slap bracelet. Fuck yeah.
So, my thoughts on air and space. There's a couple of cool things to look at. There's way too many people.
I was only interested.
And I actually enjoyed the other museum a little bit, slightly more.
I enjoyed the other museum. I enjoyed the other.
I felt like I learned more in the other museum too.
Oh, can we get a shot of this?
Oh yeah, she wants to promote Fuzzbox. Many of you may have seen that in one of my videos. You gave compliments to someone singing "Dream On." Well, that was Fuzzbox. This is the Fuzzbox shirt. You can find them on Facebook.com/Fuzzbox. They got music and shit.
The beautiful Holly Berlin is the wonderful vocalist on that.
Yeah.
My best friend, I gotta throw that in there. That's right, gotta plug it for her.
Yes. Anybody else plugging anything?
Are we plugging anything? Are we doing any more plugs?
All right.
Are we
Okay, I'm
doing
gonna put a
shout-out to
mid-roll
girlfriend?
right here.
Aaron would like to make a shout out to his girlfriend. What's her name? You gotta say it or it's not a shout out. It's gonna be on YouTube. What's your girlfriend's name?
He's like, nope. I
Oh,
don't want
she's
to
not
talk
gonna be
to
happy
millions of
about that.
people.
You might not have he might not have a girlfriend after not saying her name.
You know, if I ever blow up the PewDiePie level, millions of people could potentially be watching this.
And be like, hey, that kid's retarded.
Hey, what?
That's not politically correct.
We shouldn't say that word.
Yes,
That's
you just
a
got
bad
me.
word.
You just got my channel demonetized.
You're welcome.
What is your girlfriend's
No
name?
more memorable ads for Scott.
Yes.
Come on, what is it? Oh, she's gonna be sad, Aaron.
I know, but I'm not gonna say it because I know he's beat with that.
So no shout-outs for his girlfriend. That's how much he cares.
What's your name, Aaron? Hurry, gotta get it in there before she gets mad. Girls don't like
I'll
that.
send it
You better publicly claim it right now.
Do it right
I
now.
think he's not shouting out because he has more than one girlfriend.
I'll send
Oh,
the video. I'll send the video to her.
You know that's all me.
What is wrong with these kids?
Wow.
Yo, your video is gonna be so long. It's gonna be like 2 hours long.
Probably.
That's probably one of
It's
the
my MO.
one of the videos I'm actually gonna watch. Probably.
You think?
Yeah, man.
I'll have to make it 3 hours long so I can get that extra ad revenue.
Yo, man, have you ever watched a 10-minute video with 15 ads?
No,
Yeah.
We'll
But
watch
it-
more.
apparently you did.
I didn't. It wasn't very good.
It looks like it. It looks like they're ready to shoot anybody that goes up more than one step.
Bro,
You
Aaron,
use
why
him
you,
as a human
Aaron, why are you
shield,
doing
so-
this?
This is where they fuck everything up for us.
That's taken with the iPhone too, but that is really, that is exceptional.
Yes. Is that where the crop is though?
Oh shit.
Did you cropped it?
No, I didn't crop it. That was the whole picture.
Oh.
I missed out on the top though.
It's alright. It gets the point across.
Nah, that's not the Capitol. I don't know what that is, but it's not going. So we can stop on the first steps of the Capitol.
Up to that fence.
We can stand up to
Although
that
they might
fence.
yell at you if you walk too close. I don't know.
I think they're
They look aggressively.
A single picture. No, like a couple pictures will be enough. They're about to shoot immigrants.
You know, I'm recording.
That's not good. That's
I
not
don't
good.
know. I don't see them.
I don't know, man. Edgy content.
Do something crazy. Do it down here.
Daddy.
Is that the circle game? How do you do it?
Just do this. And if they catch,
I don't know. They said do this.
I do that.
What is that?
That's nasty.
What
Daddy.
does it mean?
It doesn't mean anything bad.
Quit man spreading.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Scott, there's good views that way too.
One thing you will see a lot of is beautiful architecture and monuments. There's no shortage of that in Washington, D.C., and you could literally spend probably 2 or 3 days looking at all of it. We covered so much ground this day that, it's probably the longest hike I've done. I mean, over 20,000 steps, 10 miles total, and I even got a blister as a result of it. So there's definitely plenty to see, and I recommend it. It's definitely an awesome trip in terms of, you know, being in all these historic places and seeing them firsthand for yourself. There's just something about that TV or internet doesn't really do justice. The birds give very little shits. They're more scared of Aaron.
He's the larger boy. I hope you guys get pooped on.
That looked like a lot of exercise. Look at the car burners in their natural habitats. They've literally stopped to eat 3 times in the past hour and a half. And they're about to go and get some fucking fructose and sugar and shit. Yes, there they go. Yeah. All kinds of carbs. All kinds. 78 grams of sugar per each cone. Diabetes. Heart disease. And they're going to be hungry again in 2 hours. Like clockwork almost. Like I could set my watch by how often they have to eat. I hope you're watching this. This is more and more ice cream. In fact, while they were getting stuff out to get ice cream, they were munching on processed foods from the backpack. So, electric bus. That's new. It's very eco-friendly. Means we don't have to burn down the Amazon anymore.
You know, we could have taken our break in here. It would have been much nicer.
I know, but carb burners had to have their carbs.
Our firm burns hard.
Like, I'm down for another chair break. It is way nicer here.
Look at the tree sculpture in the...
Yeah, see?
Look at that seating.
Probably have to pay a fine. In the back.
So I'm kind of wore out. I wore these
Oh.
fucking jeans.
Maybe it was from your cheat day yesterday, carb burner.
I'm not a carb burner today. I burned that shit off an hour ago. It was 400 calories and we burned 500 just today. Not to mention Gettysburg. And by the way, I don't think I didn't notice that when we stopped there that the only reason you didn't buy shit is because it was $10.
No, I didn't know
You
that
said
until
that.
afterwards because there was no prices up.
Oh, I thought you said $10.
I didn't get anything because I didn't want anything.
Oh, alright.
I had a Gatorade. He's so full of shit.
So yeah, we are at the something fountain. There's a lot of those. Across from the National Archives. Kind of a cool. Look at that. We were gonna try and hit the Natural History Museum, but it's probably gonna close by the time we get over there.
Yeah, we're all tuckered out.
We'll probably we're heading to the Vietnam War Memorial first, and then we'll start hitting up the monuments. And take a picture in front of the White House, wave at Trump. She don't like Trump.
Zach, Zach, get out of it. Get out of there.
Yeah.
Zach,
No. I have a vagina. Nobody's grabbing me by the
Totally bought the media narrative.
Oh, stop. You know that was in there somewhere. He's a pig. There's some truth to it. There is. There's got to be. I don't know. I just don't like him. That's not the only reason.
He's narcissistic, I'll give you that. I've never personally seen him grab anybody by the pussy though.
There was recording of him saying it though.
Yeah, there's probably recordings of you saying shit.
I say a lot
That's worse than that.
I say a lot of shit.
Alright. But then again, you could always come back with, I'm not president.
Nor would I ever try to be.
I am finding it difficult to avoid politics in Washington, D.C. It is literally everywhere. That little boy had a shirt on that said feminist. What do you think of that?
I mean, obviously that's the fear of. I don't know.
Yeah. You don't think he's really a feminist?
Maybe a Miguel or maybe what is Miguel? What?
Huh?
What was that man?
MGTOW.
Whatever.
No, he wasn't. He was wearing a feminist shirt.
Well,
Little boy.
I'm pretty sure he had no choice.
Yeah. I think we shouldn't force our politics on our children.
I concur.
It's kind of like forcing your kid to be vegan. It's just as toxic. So there is literally so much shit here. We've been here almost the whole day and done maybe 1/10 of it. So it's not gonna, we're just not gonna get it done today. Right now we're heading to the Washington Monument. We're all getting a little wore out. We've been about 6 miles into this hike. Another 6 or 7 to go. So there's that. But you know, is what it is. Shit. So unfortunately, the Washington Monument's closed. So we can't go up there. But we can stay in close proximity to the shitter and enjoy the Washington Monument. What's that?
The smell.
Pretty home.
What?
You said something.
No, you said something.
Alright.
So a great deal of the Capitol was under construction. And unless you like pictures of scaffolding and shit, you're going to miss out on a whole bunch of photo ops currently till they finish that said construction. So we were really hurting at this point. Like, you can see Eric's is kind of walking with a limp. He's chafing pretty bad. My blister was acting up by this point, but we decided to make our way towards the White House and see what we could see along the way. It's definitely more downtowny than I thought it would be. So while we didn't see too many protesters, we did see some street performers out there and some people playing instruments and stuff like that for tips. And you know, it's definitely it was nicer than I expected, to be honest with you.
I guess that's where they keep all the monies.
The monies.
The monies that I don't have. They got it all. I'm broke.
Also,
You're broke too.
Most heavily
45 of your dollars are in there now.
Is it more heavily guarded than Area 51?
No.
So this is about as close as you can get to the White House.
The president of the nation, he is the president of our corporation, the government. He is our employee.
Okay.
Okay. On the website, one of the biggest steps we can take is to make sure that our votes are properly counted. If I told you that every registered voter voted, what would you tell me?
It's not accurate.
Fortunately, I can prove it. I try not to say things I can't prove.
You mean they voted in our name?
Oh, no.
Didn't vote?
No.
Is that?
No. The actual registered voter votes.
I didn't vote. I'm registered.
I'll bet I can prove to you that you have.
Oh, so what you're saying is somebody voted in my name?
Somebody
You
voted
You
for
voted.
you just because you are registered.
If you are registered,
That makes.
If you are registered, you vote. The contract from 1776 is the Declaration. Most people say that that's useless, but in terms of corporations, it is the founding charter for our government. It tells us, the people, how our votes are supposed to be counted, what kind of powers we can even grant to our governments, and a list of powers we are prohibited from allowing them to exercise, among a few other things. But primarily with regard to the vote count, it says governments derive their just powers from the consent of the governed. So if you and I are on the same ballot for the same office and there are 100 registered voters, one of us must get 51 or more consenting votes, or neither of us are supposed to be sworn in for lack of consent. So when 60 to 80% of the registered voters do not show up at the polls, they have declared that both of us are such awful candidates that they don't want either of us in office. Thus, non-consent is a vote.
I didn't consent. I didn't consent.
And the only office that does not apply to is the office of the president because of the electoral system.
Which is why I don't vote, because our votes don't count. Unless your opinions align with the mass majority of the area that you live in.
Yeah. The way to rework that, the electoral system, is not to return it to the popular, or not to turn it to the popular vote, because then we end up with the same problem as with the electoral vote. Because what happens is politicians will campaign in the states that yield the highest percentage of electoral votes, ignoring the rest. Popular vote, they'll campaign in the highest populated states, ignore the rest. Well, my proposal is that each congressional district has one electoral vote. That electoral vote automatically determined by the majority of the total number of registered voters in that congressional district. Now, everybody's vote counts. And in order for me as a candidate, if I'm running for president, I have to campaign in literally every congressional district just to try to get the majority. Because I'm not going to get it in some, nobody's going to get it in others. And so what I do on the website, because that's what you asked about, outside from, in addition to all of this, is I dissect, there's a downloadable PDF book, complete and you can download the entire 920 some odd pages.
Did you write it, or?
I wrote it.
All right.
Primarily,
What is your name, sir, if you don't mind?
Daniel Kingery.
Nice to meet you, Daniel.
Nice to meet you.
And the first part is primarily what's on the website. Second part, it completely dissects the Declaration and the U.S. Constitution with what those words meant at that time.
What's your opinion on big corporations, lobbyists, and the revolving door?
If we the people, ever since 1776, understood the importance of that declaration as our founding charter for our government, not only the creation of our nation, but the founding charter for our government, we would have never let the legislative power out of our hands.
We did.
Yep. And when I say that, we literally, according to one of the grievances against King George at the time, it was for taxing us without our consent. No. Without our consent. That's the actual grievance.
And that's why everything sparked off and started.
Because they've had representation then. They had members, sort of like our territories or whatever, our possessions, the Guam and various others, have representation in Congress. They just don't have much of a vote. So we had representation as colonists with Great Britain, but not much of a vote, not much of a say. So when they said for taxing us
Which is pretty much how it is nowadays.
Yeah.
Well,
because
I feel like they represent corporate more than us.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Because we've let it get that way.
Yeah.
Once the Supreme Court said that corporations are people.
Well, you know, dazzle, forget, dazzle, forget, dazzle, forget, dazzle, forget.
Illusions. We have the illusion of democracy here, where our votes count, because we go to the polling station.
I've been saying this forever. Our votes, they just don't count.
That we go to the polling station and elect our politicians, or pass whatever's on the ballot that's given to us. But when you realize that our government, through passing unlawful laws, unconstitutional laws, that violate the Declaration, our founding charter, they don't have the authority to do that. They suppress 60 to 80% of the total number of registered voters, non-consenting votes. Those who don't go to the polling station to say, I want this or that.
They just bypass it and say they didn't vote, so too bad, this is what we're going with.
You're lazy, you're apathetic, you don't care. When in fact you are the most patriotic of all the voters. Because if all of your votes were counted properly, over 98% of the politicians in our elected office, except for the president because of the electoral system, but over 98% of them, Congress,
Here's why I didn't vote. It was down to Hillary and Trump, and like, fuck both them.
Well, here's my thoughts on it.
Basically. Like, there was no candidate for me.
Like, my thoughts on it are, you can't even run without corporate sponsorship. You can?
Yes, sir.
How do you have a campaign without corporate sponsorship? How do you reach people without? Yeah, but door to door isn't going to win.
It's not the same.
Door to door. I mean, you can say I'm a candidate, but
Yeah.
if you don't have millions of dollars of
And your
campaign
face isn't up
support,
on the screen of the TV.
See,
and it's the corporations that are
the idea is,
providing that.
one, we the people have to get back to how our system is supposed to
I'm
work.
just curious, what do you guys think about all that?
I don't know enough.
What do you think, Aaron?
I'd probably be wrong.
I like that. I like
How
that
old
they
are you?
admit.
Do you vote?
Nope.
And
Why not?
Not
You
old
can't.
enough.
Do you pay sales tax?
I don't even know what that is.
When you
He's like, no, but I paid $45 today.
$45 for Legos.
If you pay any form of tax, whether it's sales tax, income tax, inheritance tax, any tax, you are old enough to vote. Remember the grievance for taxing us without our consent. If the government can declare that you are old enough to be taxed, you are old enough to vote because you have every right to dictate or help determine how your tax dollars are being spent.
So you better get up there and knock on the door and say, hey,
Oi.
I didn't vote for
my
you.
turn to
No.
vote.
And I'm serious about this.
No.
Because
I'm right along. Like we're
because
right here.
that, or they have to tell you you are exempt
From taxes.
from paying taxes. Now, your parents will have you go out and buy your automobile in their next house. Put it in your name. But anyway, so when we start getting back to that, if what I say makes any sense to you, and you like what's there, same with viewers, if you like what's there,
Now he has a YouTube channel, and I don't know if you noticed, but we've been filming. If that's cool.
yeah, that's fine.
And
Yep.
so
I
you
kind of
can-
figured that's what he was
So,
doing.
we
so
are out in
definitely,
public.
so definitely put your plug in.
It's
He's got
kinda
like-
obvious.
He's got like 10. He's got like 10,000
Oh,
viewers.
we got
so
the
we don't
website.
have that
in.
many, but
It's,
yeah.
And
Clean
a
homes
lot of
government.
people have told me that we
Clean
need to
homes
get a
government.
fundraiser. We need to raise money. We need to raise money. We need millions and millions of dollars. I said, no, you don't.
Just get the information out.
And as I was saying, if you guys like what I'm saying and what's on the website, then when you pass it around, and what I'm trying to make is the content of the website and the content of the book, our owner's manual for how to control the powers of our government. And as long as
Have you written it?
it's already on there.
But you wrote it.
It's down, yes.
Yeah, 900. What?
920 some odd pages. It's 3 parts. The first part
I
primarily
will be
content
reading
on the website. The second part, the first part primarily content on the website. Second part is primarily the dissection of the contracts, the Declaration and the Constitution, along with the Articles of Confederation and the definitive Treaty of Peace, all the ones that led up to our present Constitution, and including our present Constitution and a lot of the amendments. And then the third part is a lot about how I came to investigate this. A lot of my life, there's a bunch of religious things in there.
There's always a story as to why somebody got, inspired or passionate about.
And where
something.
my education came from, that sort of stuff. And it took me 25 years to undo my K through 12 education. Sorry, guys. You got a lot of work
it's the
ahead of you.
truth. And it still is in college. You got to do the dance, and you got to do what the professors want. It's not really learning.
And I did go to a lot of colleges, didn't attend single class in any of them.
Well, no, it's because they're developing sheeples.
Yeah.
Sheeples.
Sheeples?
We're developing sheeples here.
Yes.
That's why everybody's complacent and content and with the way that things are.
Bread and circuses. Keep them fat, and happy, drunk, and
Right.
fed,
Dazzle, dazzle, razzle,
and
dazzle.
then distracted with entertainment. So
Word. That's
when we pass the word, I don't know how many people you have. You said like 10,000 or whatever viewers or followers. If even 10% of them go and spread the word to their viewers, which may or may not be
What are
more
you
or less.
hoping is the ultimate outcome of spreading the word?
On the
Educated?
website?
Other than education,
Yep.
I mean, obviously it's supposed to lead somewhere.
A better informed population, a government that is actually under our
Do you think
control.
they have the ability to change anything?
Absolutely, or I wouldn't be out here.
All right.
The book
What would you
contains.
suggest their course of change would be?
I am in the midst of drafting a signature ballot in accord with the unanimous Declaration of the United States of America. We the people can recall any person, any administration, any.
But that's why it was set up in the beginning. Like, if this goes foul, if this goes south, if this goes back to what started it, there's got to be a way to circumvent, to come back to,
Yep. It is a circular process. We the people, as individuals, are subject to the just and honorable powers that we grant to government. Okay? When that government becomes destructive of securing our rights, helping us secure our rights, then that comes back to us as a unified body of registered voters, the majority of the total number of registered voters, to correct the ills of government. Thus, a circular aspect.
No, too bad there wasn't a way to only let those who inform themselves vote. Like, here, take this test and you can vote. Too bad. That's a joke. That was a sarcastic joke up in there.
There actually should be a
Something?
test that we, the people, come up with.
Something.
That
Like,
says,
Are you qualified?
Right, are you qualified to vote?
one, can you read?
Right.
If you can't read, how do you know what the people who are telling you what's on the ballot you should vote for?
Because we could end up with like PewDiePie as president if we put it to just.
This one's like,
he's ready to vote for PewDiePie.
So, and I say this because being able to read and understand what you've read
you
should
have
be
to
a
comprehend.
requirement.
Reading's just separate from comprehension. You need the comprehension.
Yeah, because in my travel while I was before I lost my vehicle in New York State, which had a 2,500 book library, hard copies, not the electronic version, didn't have enough money to put gas in the tank, so
It happens.
Yeah.
Life happens.
so the state troopers towed it, massive tow truck for a small truck. So if we cannot comprehend what we're reading, we should not be going to the polling station.
I think most people, I'm guilty of it too. I think most people in America, we move forward and make decisions based on assumptions and not knowledge. We assume certain things are a certain way and we go with it all the time.
Yep. And that's one of the faults of our advertisers. If you got $1 million or multi-million-dollar advertising campaign,
There's no research, there's no
Nope.
thought, there's no
it's
input.
just opinion or what this person wants to be advanced. And that's what they're promoting. So we assume that there's research behind all these advertising. There isn't.
All right.
It's just bought.
Well, I will share your message.
Now, as a
on
final
my channel.
note, if I can, I'll make it
You
quick.
may.
Is that there is a campaign, a 2019 campaign. I call it a total recall campaign and constitutional convention. Yes, we do need a new constitution.
Yes, it's outdated. It's a couple hundred years old.
Not
we need
the fact that it's outdated.
No, but
it's-
there are things that don't apply.
Yeah.
And there would have to be a lot of constitutional amendments to bring it up to date that wouldn't ordinarily have passed. So on that, I'm trying to get it completed by the end of this year so that the power switches hands before December 24th of this year. And when I say total recall, I am talking about the removal of every politician in our elected offices from city, county, state, and Congress who did not get the consenting votes from the majority of the total number of registered voters. Removing the entire presidential administration and replacing our Constitution with a new Constitution that, one, helps us detail that. And yes, this can be done because since 1985 when I started the research, since 2006 when I finished the first rough draft, to right now today, if just 10% of your 10,000 viewers or more get hold of this and go with it, this can happen before the end of November. Because I will have that signature petition finished by the end of September. It will be published on the homepage of my website so that you can download it, print it off, and circulate it. Each one, have it set up so that you can put 1,000 signatures on there. You'll be responsible for getting your voter checklist, and I strongly encourage that you have a notary to notarize each one of the signatures that say that the ID and voter ID was checked before they signed it. And then when we get the majority, the total number of registered voters nationwide, and within at least 3/4 of the total number of states and territories, I'm including them because they do have a say, should have a say, then that is when the power will switch hands. And that is constitutional and within accord with the terms of the new Constitution.
Because it really should be in the hands of the people, not corporations.
It was intended to be. So when instead of like Nancy Pelosi said when she committed treason, and I'm still trying to find a second person.
We shouldn't have to choke down, what is it, Monsanto? We shouldn't have to choke down Monsanto. I mean, you know.
Her saying was,
Is
and
it
I forget
Santo?
whether
Are
it
you
was
sure
the
it's not Santo?
Monsanto. Yeah, and I forget whether it was the Treason Act or the Non-Affordable Care Act when she said, we just have to pass it to see what's in it. That literally was an act of treason on her part if she voted without reading and understanding the whole bill. No representation in that. They can't represent
How many
us.
do you think actually read the whole bills before they...
Almost none.
0.0.
There you
They
go.
have their AIDS rated, I think, maybe.
Or,
Yeah,
I don't know.
they
Does
go
anybody
based
ever
on
read it?
Give 'em a
based on the
summary.
summary from the aides, which may or may not have their own political agenda.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Well, it was nice talking to you.
is it?
Thanks
Appreciate
for
it.
giving us your time.
Thank you,
Appreciate it.
Daniel.
What?
I will pass this on to my viewers.
And like I said, the end of this year we can make it happen because it is within our power to do so. Thank you.
And that is cleanhonestgovernment.com.
Nope. Clean Honest Gov. Just the way
Clean Honest, okay.
cleanhonestgov.com.
Alrighty. Thank you.
You're welcome. All one word. No spaces.
Alright.
Well, his heart was in the right place.
But...
I believe he's out of his fucking mind. There's no way you can do all of that. But-
even if you did though, here's my thing. Even if you did, how are you going to get them to remove themselves? Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's got to be like, it's not. They're not going to be
Yeah,
like,
it's
hey,
not. Yeah, they're not gonna be like, oh, okay, they voted and put a
no,
petition
right?
in.
Let's
No,
make it, let's
no.
change this. Yeah, I mean, like,
And-
it's a good thought, but you know, good intentions don't really get you too far.
Yeah, unfortunately, I believe the corporations are too well entrenched for we, the people, to make a move.
And
The only way we can make a move is if we stop giving money to the corporations. It's really the only move, I think.
grow our own food and
Yeah, just stop paying the corporations, and
Live off
then they don't have the
grid.
money to buy the government.
But not everybody's gonna do that, so it's not gonna change.
That's a true story. That's why I'm
I
a
mean,
minimalist, so I don't have to deal with any of that shit. So it's funny, we come to see the White House, which is blocked by the most ugliest fucking construction fence I've ever seen. And the most interesting experience we had was talking to a homeless guy.
you know,
telling us about-
completely crazy out of his tour.
Yeah, but he wrote a 968-page book, or whatever it was, 53, 22, something. So if you want to go check that out,
Hop up on that.
hop over to his website and shit. Give him a like or something.
Tell him we sent him.
Share it on Minds. Because if you share it on YouTube, you're going to be demonetized like this video is.
Guarantee it.
Yeah. Yeah, especially when he said Nancy Pelosi was committing treason.
That's just instant.
Yeah, that's instant censorship. So after our little White House adventure, we made our way all the way back, and it was quite the hike. We had to stop a few times, to the World War II Memorial, which is on the way to the Lincoln Memorial and the Vietnam Wall. And the reflecting pool is on the other side of it. But this is a pretty elaborate monument, and there's a lot of photo opportunities here, and you can even soak your feet, your blistered feet, in the glyphosate water that's being pumped through the memorial. Yes, it's very relaxing until you get gangrene. So next we continued to make our way over to the Lincoln Memorial with a quick stop by the Vietnam Wall, and I paused to take some pictures and reflect, because my dad was a Vietnam vet, so I kind of
paid my respects and moved on. Snapped some pictures of the boys there too. And you know, I was really kind of enjoying the photography side of taking pictures here in Washington D.C. There's just so much photogenic opportunities. Like when the sun was backlighting this, and you see like some God rays pouring down on the Lincoln Memorial. That was kind of a rare shot that I'm glad I was able to get while I was there. Two of my favorite pictures were of the Lincoln Memorial. So I would suggest that if you do visit, this is a great place to do at sunset, because the sun is currently setting behind the Lincoln Memorial and can really make for some interesting pictures. Unfortunately, there's a shit ton of people, and there's nothing you can do about it. You know, it would take days and multiple pictures to Photoshop that shit out. But overall, it was a beautiful scene, and I captured it. So around this time, the kids were miserable. Christy was starting to get miserable too, and decided to plan to Uber back to our car to, you know, we were all pretty sore and wore out by this point. This is 10 miles in. What did strike me, aside from the fact that the sun was setting behind the Vietnam Wall, was I thought it was bigger for some reason than this. This was a little unexpected. I thought it was a bigger thing, you know, a bigger monument. But, yeah, I learned something new just by visiting the wall. And for those of you who somehow are unaware of what the wall is, it's the name of every service member that died serving in Vietnam. So, it's important to remember our history and those we lost. I'm really gonna hate this particular one, I think. It's too many people. Too many people.
Yep, that's the truth.
Alright, ready?
Yeah.
Pose. Alright. This is thumbnail. So many people here. There's too many. They're harshing my mellow.
that was about the end of our energy for that day. And yeah, the people definitely sucked the life out of me. I had to wait a while to get the pictures I wanted, and people were just rude and inconsiderate, and yeah, I was cranky by that time. So we headed out and caught an Uber. Well, a cab, who charged us as much as an Uber.
What was that?
Huh? What are you filming?
So you're blaming him?
No, I'm blaming me. My hips are killing me. Oh, little puppy's all by himself. Oh, that must be those people's. And you got some driving footage.
Well, I'm gonna narrate how everyone west out.
You're gonna narrate what?
I'm gonna narrate how y'all west out when we took a cab.
Hey, that's alright. I'll take it.
So the next day, we managed to get to Arlington National Cemetery, and which is where we bury all of our service members and soldiers and veterans and their families. Basically, everyone who's ever served our country is eligible to be buried here, including myself. But when you start to take in the size of it and the sheer numbers, you know, there's presidents buried here. This is John F. Kennedy's gravestone and his family. And it's a very solemn place. And there's a lot to see here in terms of people who have served our country and are no longer with us. And you can learn their stories as you go, just by seeing what campaign they served in when they passed away. And it's a very solemn, very educational, and gives you a lot of time to reflect. And it's also a very patriotic place. And you know, you can see everything from John F. Kennedy's grave to Pan Am 103 to the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, where the changing of the guard takes place. But by far the most impressive experience at Arlington, aside from walking amongst the tombstones, is the changing of the guard at the Tomb for the Unknown Soldier. So I'm just going to let it play out so that you can kind of get an idea of what to expect at Arlington National Cemetery.
When they bury somebody here, you know, like the funeral. Afterwards.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? I am Sergeant Matthew of the 3rd Infantry Regiment, United States Army. Guard of Honor, 2 of the unknown soldier. The ceremony that you are about to witness is the changing of the guard. In keeping with the dignity of this ceremony, it is requested that everyone remain silent and standing. Thank you. Shoulder, on. Forward, march. Guards, halt. Forward, march. Guards, halt. Port, arms. Ready, pace. Present, arms. Present, arms. shoulder, arms. Post. Right. Pace. Forward. March.
I'm sorry, I did right.
It's not serious. It's like the whole history of the Tombstone soldier. It actually says it right up there.
And so our trip ended. And there's going to be more trips like this in my future, particularly back to DC to see some of the things I didn't get to see this time around. But this has been my first real visit to the nation's capital. And it didn't work out, though. After that, we tried to go to George Washington's Mount Vernon estate. And we got there and realized it was $20 a piece to get in, plus
I'll have to see.
$10 a piece for the kids. And we only had about an hour and a half before they closed, so it didn't seem worthwhile to pay that amount. So if you're going to do the George Washington Mount Vernon estate, you might want to plan a full day of it. We suck. Anyways, that's it for this trip. Have a nice motherfucking day. And shit.